Hello chess friends and welcome to the channel. Today it's round 5 of the Shamkir Chess 2019 Gashimov Memorial. Carlsen, who is leading the tournament, drew his game against Mamedyarov, but there were other decisive and great games to show you. Among them, I chose the game between Anand and Anish Giri. The game is a fine Ruy Lopez. There aren't evident mistakes during the game because it's difficult to find the right plan for both sides. But I had an idea and I'd like to share it with you and to hear from you if you like it. So no more words and let's watch the game together. Viswanathan with the white pieces opens with e4 and Anish Giri answers with e5. Knight to f3, knight to c6 and bishop to b5 the Ruy Lopez. Knight to f6 attacking the pawn is the Berlin defense and Anand doesn't enter the Berlin lines and plays d3 protecting the pawn. Bishop to c5, c3 now, castle for black and knight in b goes to d2. It's an interesting line because Anand doesn't castle and starts the knight maneuver. This is a good move because there is nothing to worry in case of the d5 central push. The knight is protecting the pawn and white can castle short without problems. In this position, Anish Giri continues with rook to e8 and Anand finally castled. a6 attacking the bishop, bishop captures on c6 and d recaptures on c6. The knight jumps on c4 and the black knight moves to d7, adding a second protection to the pawn. Rook to e1 and bishop to f8. This move is a fine move, saves the bishop pair and keeps the games complex. Why saves the bishop pair? Because let's go back one move. b5 is an interesting idea, attacking the knight, but the knight can capture on e5, knight recaptures on e5 and white can captures. In this position, seems that black is winning a piece, but is not true because here comes the pawn fork. So rook captures now is losing for black. In this position, bishop captures with check, king recaptures, and now rook captures on e5, and the game is almost equal. White just a bit better, like at the beginning of the game, or maybe less. Okay, so let's go back. After rook to e1, not b5, but bishop to f8 saves the bishop pair and the game remains complex. d4 now, e captures on d4 and c recaptures on d4. Knight moves to b6, knight captures on b6 and c recaptures on b6. h3, controlling, of course, g4. Now, where to put this bishop? To e6 seems the right square, but before that Anish Giri plays b5, bishop to f4 and bishop to e6. Rook to e3, f6 now. This is a fine move because it gives another square to the bishop and also controls g5. After b3 that controls c4 so that the bishop doesn't come to c4, but this move could also maybe played later. After b3, queen to d7 and queen to c2. So in this position it seems that black is slightly better, or at least he achieved a complete equality. But what to do now? Giri is stronger on the queen side, also the bishop are pointing to the queen side. Anand is stronger in the center. Black, my opinion, can play two different moves that both are in line with this position. The first move is bishop to f7 that retreats the bishop to f7, increase the scope of the rook in the center. In this position, if e5, here comes a5, e captures, g captures, and sooner or later, more sooner or later, a4, and black is perfectly fine. After queen to c2, the other idea is to play a5 first, and maybe this is the move that I prefer. Here comes rook to d1, but after bishop to b4, white has no breaking push in the center because d5 loses a pawn, and e5 is even worse because here comes bishop to d5 and After that, a4, and really in this position, black is winning the game. Okay, so let's go back. So after queen to c2, what happened? Happened that Giri played a perfectly fine move. Rook in a goes to d8. A good move that also the computer likes, but maybe it's a bit without poison. Here comes rook to d1, queen to f7, then g5 with tempo against the bishop, and queen to h5. This is black's idea, but maybe this is the wrong side of the board. Bishop to g3, queen to h5, bishop to c7 attacking the rook, and rook to d7. The bishop moves back to b6. Here comes bishop to b4 and knight to e1. This is beautiful knight maneuver. These are those maneuvers that the great champions like Anand, Giri, the super GM, they always find. The maneuver is to relocate the knight in the center of the board. Bishop to f7. The knight jumps to d3 attacking the bishop, and the bishop goes back to d6. Rook in d goes to e1. Anand is better now because now he has the plan. Bishop back to b8, f4, f5 now. The knight jump on e5 attacking the rook, bishop captures, and d recaptures on e5. F captures on e4, and queen recaptures on e4. Seems to me, and here it is, that white pieces are really well coordinated now. More, there is this expansion in the center that it's a bit scary. Good move by Giri now, rook to d2, attacking a2, also controlling the second rank, but Anand can play rook in 3, goes to e2, and the second rank is safe. Bishop to d5, attacking the queen moves back to e3, and rook captures on e2 is the only possibility. Rook recaptures on e2, and queen to f5. This is not the best move, but it's not simple to find the right one. The idea is clear, and it's also a good idea because the queen now is threatening to invade with check on b1, but Anand continues with g4. Queen to b1 with check, and Anand moves the king to f2, and he has no problems. Even if white continues with queen to h1, seems strong, but after king to g3, there is no possible check. So, in fact, Anish Giri, after king to f2, doesn't continue with queen to h1, he continues with the best move, that is h5. Anand push f5, and in this position, the best continuation for black is to play h4. This is not what happened in the game, this is just a variation that I like to show you. h4 is the best move, but still there is no attack. Even if black now controls g3, because if black pushes too much, he loses the game. That is already in white's hand. So let's watch what happens. After h4, bishop to d4 is really strong, because the bishop now is in the center of the board and watching g7. Queen to h1, e6. Queen to g2 with check seems a great idea. King to e1, queen to h1 with check, king to d2. Here comes queen to b1. The idea is to give check and then to be able with tempo to go back and defend g7. In fact, now white continues with queen to g5, threatening checkmate in 1. Queen captures on e2 with check. The king back to e1. Queen to a5 with check. King to f1. Queen to c7 seems perfect because now the queen is protecting g7, but the e-pawn can interfere supported by the queen and the rook, and nothing can stop the checkmate. So also h4, that is the best move, doesn't give any attack to black. What happens in the game is that Anish Giri continues with queen to h1, that is worse than h4. Here comes king to g3 and rook to e7. Bishop to c5 attacking the rook back to e8 and e6. The king moves to h7. In this position, Anand plays a great move, queen to g5. Of course, the idea is to capture with check. Seems that the queen leaves the rook undefended, but there is no problem. In fact, in this position, Giri resigns, and he's right because it's already a forced checkmate. Let's watch together one possible continuation. We said that the queen moving to g5 leaves the rook undefended, but even after queen to f3 we check, the king moves to h4, queen capture to e2, but the white queen captures on h5 we check, king to g8, the rook is gone with another check, king to h7 and queen to g6 we check, king to g8, bishop to d4, here white is threatening checkmate in 1, the only check is queen to e2 we check, but after king to h5 nothing can stop, queen captures on g7 with checkmate, and if the king moves away the checkmate is here on f7. So it was a nice game by Anand and another loss in the tournament for Anish Giri, but today he didn't play bad at all. What happened is that it seems to me that during the tournament he is not able to find the right moment to really take the initiative in his hands. So what do you think about the game? Did you enjoy it? And what do you think about the plan that I suggested during the game? Let me know in the comments below the video. Today's game is over. Thanks for watching and see you tomorrow. Goodbye.